Well, 2023 is almost here. My name is Nanika Edwards. I am a poet, author, artist, linguist, educator. I wear many hats. I am from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. And 2023 is around the corner. And even if I didn't know, I definitely know now because there was a big fete in my neighborhood up until about the wee, well into the wee hours of the morning, and they're definitely letting people. People have already started, um, setting off fireworks and things like that. And it's not even midnight of the 31st of December yet. So yeah, I know 2023 is around the corner, right around the corner. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to share with you how I feel about preparing for the coming year and for the future in general, readying myself for 2023 and beyond. 2023 is almost here. Resolve to evolve. A lot of people would have made New Year's resolutions by now. So this is just my personal take on what someone's resolution could look like depending on where you are in life and how you see things, where you are philosophically and all of those different things, where you are philosophically, where you are spiritually. you know A resolution only makes sense if there's going to be personal evolution. In this video, I would like to share what I think is the absolute best resolution for any year and any time of year. So we're talking 2023, 2024, 2030, 2050, whenever, right? Any year, any time of year. Doesn't have to be at the start of the year, could be, you know, 3 months in, 6 months in, but the sooner you do the sooner somebody opts to do this and to do it wholeheartedly, I would say the better. What can you see here? Yeah, a caterpillar, if you didn't figure that out before. And I think that when you're talking absolutes, there's nothing more absolute than God, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omni everything. Omni of the omnis. you know, um, so that's really what this presentation is going to be about. And I hope you enjoy. It won't be short, but it will be edifying. I am a believer. I gave my heart to Jesus Christ officially, I should say, when I was in high school. I was always interested in God. When I say always, I mean since I was a little girl, since I was a little girl, I went to Catholic. I was Anglican. My family was Anglican. I went to Catholic primary school and then a Presbyterian high school. So, I think that growing up in those environments, being God-fearing was something that just was a natural part of who I was coming from my environment, whether it was my family or the schools that I went to. And I also have to thank my grandmother, no longer with us, but Olive Amy was her name. And she was married to Carlton Amy. My grandmother was from Trinidad. My grandfather was originally from Barbados. And both of them were God-fearing people. But my grandmother in particular used to send children's Bibles for myself and my sisters. She used to get Jehovah Witness Bibles from, Jehovah Witnesses tend to walk around sharing tracts and things like that. And back then they used to give away Bibles. I don't know if they still do, but they used to give away Jehovah Witness Bibles. I'm not a Jehovah Witness, but I am so grateful that I read those Bibles, because those are the things that helped me to become familiar with some of the more well-known biblical accounts that most people, would be familiar with. I would have also learned about some of those things in the Catholic Church, because my father, even though my father would not have called himself a Christian, he did insist that me and my siblings had to go to Sunday school regularly. So he didn't believe in going to church himself, but he made sure that we went. That might be a typical Trini thing. I'm not too sure. Maybe somebody could comment. But anyway, I gave my heart to Jesus Christ in high school, and I have never looked back. The best decision I've ever made. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I should explain that this piece of writing that I'm going to share with you, I actually wrote over the last, over the last 2 days. When I first wrote it, it was a very short Facebook post, and then I just found myself lengthening it. When I got back to post it on LinkedIn the following day, I just found that I kept lengthening it. And I have to say, this piece of writing comes out of my desire to, I have to admit, confront Christians who profess to be Christians, but who don't always act like Christians. And yes, we know there are a lot of people like that, right? We know. Whether you're Christian or not, we know. And so it's something that really bugs me. And I wrote this piece, but I also wrote this piece because I felt that not only is it important to, it's not only important to critique and challenge things that are wrong, but it's also important to focus to some extent on the better way of approaching things, the ideal way, the optimum way. So that's what this is about. So enough of the preamble, let's get to it. Walking with God means being committed to being consistent and constant. We can't be the roughest, toughest, ugliest, horned toad today, or horned toad, like forked tongue, forked tongue, horned toad, horned toad. You get the idea. We can't be the roughest, toughest, ugliest, horned toad today, and the sweetest, downiest, cooing dove tomorrow. And then some hideous Komodo dragon beast again the day after that. We shouldn't alternate between sea urchin and the sea star, or viperfish and angelfish, or stink bug and ladybug, or buzzard and eagle, or be a Tasmanian devil on Tuesday, but a white tiger on Wednesday. You get my point. If you are, you're not properly human or a credible Christian. That is, if you claim to be one, you're a chameleon and a shapeshifter. Let me say that again. You're a chameleon and a shapeshifter. Tell me I'm wrong. God is as constant and sunbeam faithful as each gold dawning day, and designed us to mirror his royally righteous role modeling. Yes, I like alliteration. So we have some big daddy shoes to fill and walk in, Notice I said walk in, not stand in. You don't put your feet in and then stand up on the spot. No, you put your feet in shoes so you could walk, so you could go somewhere, right? So we have some big, big daddy shoes to fill and walk in every single second of every single minute of every single hour of every single day, of every single week, of every single month, of every single year, of every single decade for the rest of our lives until we breathe our last and think our final earthly thought and dance into the great and glorious beyond. 100% effort, 100% of the time. Anything less than that is some broken foot sacrifice that we flinging at our kind, loving, kingly creator, much like a certain wayward, own way sibling who made a contemptuous sacrifice of fruits and vegetables as if to say, God, rock so with that. 100% may seem daunting to some, maybe most, but if Jesus gave all, we can and should also give all. It's all or nothing. And thankfully, there is great grace available to enable us to don a divine line of footwear and to step through life in gloriously godly style. We may not always get everything right, but God values effort and demands and deserves nothing less than 100% of it. Selah. Stop and think about it. Pause and consider. Pause and listen. Stop and consider. Think about it. One caution. Don't put on any old dancing shoes and waltz into this lightly. Count the cost. These tall boots will cost you a pretty penny. One side minted with wine sweet, soul deep joy, mountain moving faith, and unearthly peace. But the other with straight and narrow grief, sorrow, suffering, and affliction. Yes, you heard that right. But you'll get eternal returns to the tune of trillions, infinitely squared on that penny investment. If you still feel the price is too high, then don't venture into this soul salvation made whole restoration shoe store. Yes, I also like to rhyme. I'm a poet. But just know, though, that it also costs dearly to walk through life among thorns and thistles and snakes and scorpions barefoot. I don't care how pretty your life looks. I don't care how easy your life is. In the unseen realm, that's what you're walking through, even when everything seems to be peaceful. And no, life isn't always about thorns and thistles. Yes, we do have moments of joy and pleasure and contentment and happiness, but we all know that life is not a walk through the park. Sometimes it's more of a walk through a desert or a cactus patch, and you definitely don't want to be barefoot if that's where you find yourself. So don't be barefoot even while you strut your stuff in glamorous high heels or dress to impress in brand name sneakers or snazzy sandals. So could you be wearing fashionable footwear and still be barefoot on some level or in some dimension. Selah, pause, think about it. So it costs to walk around this life, to walk on this side of eternity barefoot. And it will cost even more, ever more, to do the twinkle toes tango on hot coals for all of eternity. Every single second of every single minute of every single hour of every single day of every single week of every single month of every single year of every single decade for the rest of infernal infinity. Infinity so timeless that it goes on and 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 on. You put in another one for good measure. With no alarm clock or calendar alert to wake you out of the most terrifying demon crawling nightmare that anyone will ever know. And I would imagine that some of you were thinking, oh gosh, could you just get on with it? How many times you're going to say it goes on and on and on and on and on? Imagine if that was a stuck, imagine if on and on and on and on was a stuck record that you had to listen to for hours upon hours, let's say a whole day or a whole week. You're just listening to that for a whole week. Now, imagine being in a stuck record called hell that just goes on and on and on. I mean, just try measuring the time. Try measuring the experience. It just goes on and on and on. And we're not talking like, you know, being tortured with boredom. Like, oh gosh, hell is such a horrible place because good Lord, there's nothing to do here. I'm so bored. That's not what hell is. Hell is a place of torment and torture. You know, and I know some people don't believe in hell. Funny, everybody believes in heaven. You know, a loved one dies, a loved one passes on, and, you know, everybody is like, well, you know, rest in peace. I know they're in a good place. So if there's a good place, you don't think there's a bad place too? Come on, that's just common sense. And, well, I know a lot of people, you know, a lot of people don't believe that hell is a real place or that God could be so cruel as to punish people in such a horrible place as something like hell. But God is not cruel. He loves everybody, but he also loves righteousness, and he loves righteousness, and he loves justice. And because of that combination of things that he appreciates and values and honors, some people will, in fact, many people end up in hell. You know, the Bible talks about the broad highway and the straight and narrow, right? The broad highway leading to hell and the straight and narrow that leads to heaven. So hell is a very, I mean, unbelievably hot. You just think about, you know, think about the climbing temperatures of the planet, how hot it's getting generally across the planet. And, you know, hell is infinitely hotter. You know, so if you think it's unbearable now, you know, I promise you, you don't want to end up in a place like hell. And, you know, we could make fun, we could say, you know, it's just, you know, it's just a figment of some religious imagination and things like that. You know, we could make fun, yeah. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But hell is a place of no return. Hell is a voyage into deep darkness, deep, thick darkness that you could touch, but that you cannot retreat from or run from or escape from. Imagine that, a whole eternity of on and on and on and on and on. That stuck record that I'm sure was irritating a lot of you. Hell will be beyond mere irritation. It will be pure torment. And God is kind enough to warn us about it in the Bible. People say, how could God be so cruel as to create a place like hell? Yes, he created it originally, as far as I know, to punish the fallen angels and Satan, whom they followed. But it has also become a place of punishment for human beings who opt to do things their way and not God's way. So God isn't cruel. He's very kind in warning us and telling us and making it very plain what hell is like. You know, there are several places in the Bible that talk about it. Anyway, let me move on. I digress. It really makes far more sense to wear God glory golden shoes with sunbeam wings in royal realms forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and to do a joyous jitter glitter bug boogie woogie every single day as a galactically more majestic mutant of the highest genetic human order. Let me say that again. For those of us who choose to walk God's straight and narrow path, one day we would be transformed into a galactically more majestic mutant of the highest genetic human order, with every close kin of the king chromosome gem crusted with clear dazzle diamonds and glorious gemstones that righteously reflect and refract God's sun shimmer goodness. But you do your own high top stabulation. By the way, this description is just me using some poetic license very generously. Does the Bible say this? No. But what the Bible does say is that we cannot even imagine. The human mind is incapable of imagining the glory, the beauty, the joy, the perfection, the indescribable goodness and magic and whatever there is of the other side of life in God's presence. We can't even imagine. So you see this description I've given here, as amazing as it is, probably doesn't even touch the reality of what heaven is like and what being in God's presence is like, and what being a new creature in Christ is like, which is what this is describing. I probably haven't even scratched the surface. Is it in the Bible? No. But God has no problems with us in a context like this using our imagination. It gives you an idea of just how wonderful that realm is and just how worth it is to choose to walk his straight and narrow path, which very few find. Count the cost. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? Well, now all that is left to be said is becoming a newly evolved and ever evolving creature in Christ is an epic quest and a significantly singular experience with no other like it. Not even the most breathtaking monarch butterfly could boast of such a magical metamorphosis. So, wishing one and all a sweet 2023, full of dreams coming true, life lived wondrously well, and grand adventures with the one and only. See you again on the other side in 2023. Resolve to evolve. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17, New King James Version. Readying myself for 2023 and beyond.